Germany for the clash of the Titans here in the LEC Spring Playoffs. We've been waiting 3 weeks to see the best teams from the regular season. And for G2 Esports and Origen, their playoff run starts here. There they are, the legends who are going to take to the stage for round 2 of the playoffs, but the start of their playoffs. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter here with Daniel Dracos and Indiana Frosker in black. I can hardly contain myself. I am so excited for this matchup. I don't know where to start, so I'm going to let you guys do it.
I mean, it's really hard to say. All I know is that these are two teams that we haven't seen in so long, and we've seen incredibly high peaks from both of them. So honestly, I just want 5 games. Just give me 5 games.
Yeah, I'm really curious how they're going to take a run at the patch. I feel like we got very different reads on the meta in terms of first round of playoffs versus second round. And with all the time for the teams to kind of sit back and prepare, how they're going to use picks like Kale, like Urgot, like Hecarim.
Yes.
I agree. We, of course, saw a lot of crazy things yesterday when the reigning champions Fnatic, they continued their title run with a 3-1 victory against Splyce, securing their spot in Rotterdam and in the semifinals.
And it was such a wild series, and at some points it feels like Splyce had Fnatic's number, but honestly, Fnatic fought so well. They picked up with all of the curveballs that Splyce tried to throw at them, although 1 or 2 of those games, Splyce just felt like they had the edge, and it did show us a little bit that Fnatic might have some weaknesses that can be attacked. Overall, though, just an incredible series to watch.
It's crazy.
Splyce was very competitive in that series.
Where have I heard before, like, Fnatic, 0-4, they're out. There's no way that they ever make a comeback. I just cannot believe that you can continue to kind of change the different cogs on this team and still get incredible results. So it speaks to the strength of the support structure behind such a prestigious organization.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. They have 7 titles in Europe already. They're en route to their 8th. I do want to button up also the spring split. For Splyce, they had a valiant and very good run, I think, this split. Of course, they have some changes in their roster, young players in the mix as well, so they can be proud of what they've achieved, even though it might not feel like it at this point in time.
And it is difficult, of course, for them to go home in this circumstance, but I do think that there has been the story of steady improvement over the course of the split, and additionally, what we saw yesterday was new picks, innovation. In their first series, we saw Chachi, these 1-3-1 comps. Now we're seeing Kabi play mages, and it does build a lot of excitement for me going into the summer to see how creative and how crazy Splyce can be on the Rift.
So it's just going to be a question about what the ceiling is. You know, we always talk about 2016 summer as like the big high for Splyce when they went to Worlds with that roster, because you do have, what, 3 players who are 19 years old. Coach Duke talks about it all the time. There's so much room for growth, for ceiling, for development. I just think coming back in summer, if they've already showed that they're top 4, they can continue to contest those top 3.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very hyped for Splyce in summer. I'm also very hyped to see what Fnatic can do in the semi-final. Before we dive more into Fnatic OG and maybe the patch, what are your general thoughts of how strong they performed yesterday?
Oh, well, Splyce versus Fnatic was a great indication on what was to come. Sorry, I messed this up in rehearsal. I'm going to mess it up again. Okay, Splyce versus Fnatic. Yesterday, we saw Yesterday, we saw some explosive play. Lane swaps, Vayne mids, and Vigar bots. I'm very clearly still excited. But I want to highlight 3 key takeaways from Splyce versus Fnatic. Now, number 1 was Bwipo. This guy demands attention. Now, he is a man of polarizing opinion. Bwipo has been the most recent target with back-to-back series camps, with both Cabochard and Chachi looking for the superior matchup. And with good reason, because we learned that if you do not respect this man, if you do not camp this man, and if you do not deal with this man, he will destroy you. Now, that said, Fnatic were not infallible, and that was the second thing that we learned, because despite the 11-game win streak, Splyce did manage to strike Fnatic down with a slick lane swap by eliminating laning and jungle presence altogether. Maybe the key counter to Fnatic's early game dominance is to remove the early game entirely. And finally, Splyce versus Fnatic have been a precursor to the meta between OG versus G2 today. Now, this assumption is that with only 4 teams left in our playoffs, and Reckless saying that G2 and Fnatic don't scrim each other, this leaves Splyce as one of G2's possible scrim partners and OG for Fnatic. And frankly, that's what it looked like, with Splyce pulling out a lot of the 1-3-1 and mid-game power spec compositions that G2 dominated the regular split with. And as the pool of teams continues to shrink, I want viewers to pay close attention to how this tournament meta continues to evolve.
Yeah, that I think is such an important point, because you always see in that ecosystem of the best of 5s how things or picks you thought were strong just get tossed out a window by game 3, how all of a sudden lane swaps are brought back by Splyce, and I wonder how strongly G2 and OG changed their plans after seeing that best of 5 yesterday.
I mean, the trend that we've seen so far, I mean, the first series had Fnatic versus Vitality, it was just a Kale. The next series we had Urgot jungle, the Hecarim. After that, the series we saw yesterday, even more wild lane swaps going back and forth. So the trend we're on says there's going to be some insanity in this best of 5 that we're not even ready ready for.
And also, as a fan, the viewing experience was actually top-notch. There were a lot of team fights. There were a lot of curveballs coming in. So I'm looking forward to what we will see today. Now, of course, with yesterday's result, we now have our 3 teams for Rotterdam. Fnatic will gear up to face either Origen or G2 in the semifinal. In Saturday in Rotterdam, rather, we will see Fnatic versus the loser of today's match between G2 and OG. And on Sunday, we'll see the final. The winner of G2 versus OG versus whoever wins that semifinal, which could be a rematch if you are the loser of G2 or OG.
And it sounds complicated, but the important thing...
What's the PSA, Greg?
This is the PSA, folks. The important thing that you need to know, that you need to understand, is it's Fnatic, it is Origen, it is G2, it is 2 days of these teams, huge organizations, huge legacies going toe-to-toe in Rotterdam over 2 days. And honestly, it is going to be one of the best events we have ever had in EU history. You wanted 2015 finals once again. We'll do you one better. We'll throw G2 in the mix, 'cause that is 2019. That is LEC in Rotterdam, and I'm ready for it.
You've sold it to me for sure. Also important to note, there's also an article on lolesports that just lays out all the booths that will be there, all the experiences. You can get your hair cut.
You can get stickers,
yes.
Beard trimmed.
tattoos. You can take pictures with Keke, with the fish show, with Frost, with Dracos.
I can get excited about this.
Just get your tickets, guys. eu.lolesports.com/Rotterdam. So if you guys can just say in Dutch, koop je tickets nu.
Koop je tickets nu.
There we go.
Got
Buy
'em.
your tickets right now. Aside from that,
now.
there's also a lot of other League of Legends happening. Well, it's the same League of Legends. It's just different teams all over Europe. The EU Masters, they are starting in just 2 days from now. And to get you primed and ready, Dracos is going to run it down for you.
Good luck with that teleprompter.
Thanks, right.
Watch out.
All right, Shocks, thank you so much. Of course, EU Masters is right around the corner with play-in starting this Monday, April 8th. The event is going to run through the 28th, with the finals being played in the beautiful Haymarket Theatre in Leicester. Now, of course, EU Masters has a history of showcasing some of the best upcoming talent across regional leagues, talent like Selfmade and the rest of the former Mad Lions players who have since joined the LEC, as well as reintroducing us to names we can never forget, like Forgiven, like Expect on that all-star Origin run in the first EU Masters. Now, every team in the LEC is also represented in the regional leagues, and while each of them put up a great fight in their season, not all of them could earn their place at EU Masters, but some of them have managed to make it through. That's Rogue Esports Club over there. You got Splyce Vipers coming in from Superliga Orange. If you haven't seen that final, I highly recommend it. Fnatic Rising dominating in the 3-0 finals. SK Gaming Prime, as well as Misfits Premier, both coming in through the play-ins. And that's really only a small piece of the rosters in attendance. That said, some rosters do stand above the rest, and before the tournament begins, I want to highlight 2 of them. First up, it might not be surprising to you if you've seen them play. Superliga Orange's Splyce Vipers are an easy frontrunner when you look at their lineup as well as their playoffs run. You've got Tierwolf coming in from LATAM. I love that LATAM talent moving internationally now. Freeze looking incredible across the entire series. Some all-star carry performances, as well as Rome, who we got the pleasure of watching in the LEC. Now, these guys took out Origen Barcelona and G2 Heretics to earn their spot, which is part of why I think it's easy to hype them up heading into this tournament. The other team I want to point out are Rogue Esports Club, another easy candidate for title contender. Polish leagues historically have done incredibly well over the course of the EU Masters. Now, this team only dropped a single match during the regular season, finishing with a 13-1 record. Of course, they have a veteran shot caller and leader in Vander. Larson also might just be the latest and young European mid lane talent, something that we are always looking out for. Of course, I do also want to mention LDLC from the French league. This is the last stacked lineup. You've got the likes of Joko. Steelback is on this team as well as a brand new imported Korean top laner, and they smashed the French League finals versus Misfits Premier. But if you want to catch the action and take a look at the latest in EU talent, be sure to turn into EU Masters. It's starting this Monday, April 8th. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it is. I think especially with the fact that EU Masters is now established as this kind of route to pro also, and we see a lot of players that did well in the regional leagues last year. They're already in the spring split of LEC. It's a good opportunity to scout. It's a new opportunity to see what other talent they have. And it's also a good opportunity to see some of the old faces we know working on their way back to the highest level. Freeze comes out or jumps out to me, a guy who has a great history in EU so far and is now crushing it also in the ERLs.
Reminds me a lot of the LSPL, the Chinese Secondary League, because it's not just, the challenger circuit. There's so many resources and so much talent that are injected into these leagues that you can have crazy top-tier performances.
Definitely so. We'll be looking forward to EU Masters, but here in the LEC, there's only 3 series left, 3 best-of-5s in the spring split, meaning we are also approaching the finish line in the race for Superior Analyst. Let's take a look, see what we have.
Should we just point out the big red flag?
Guys, how are you going to wrap and defend OG for 3 straight minutes and not back them up in your predictions? I'm talking about you, VODS. I know you want to win, but the moral high ground, come on, dude.
All I'm saying is, might be an indicator of who actually came out on top of the
No,
rap
I
battle.
think if you count the OGs, you know how good the rap battle
Okay.
was.
Real talk, though, I
Yeah.
am very glad that you bring up all of these Origins. Now, when I predicted Origin, which I also have a bet on Origin versus G2, so I'm just burning myself here, I thought I was being edgy. I was like, I'm going to be the edgelord, I'm going to predict the upset, and then I see that everyone predicted Origin, to which then I'm like, what are you guys doing? G2 should still be heavy favorites here. What is this recency bias?
I gotta say, it is odd. It is
And
odd.
I gotta be honest, Rama picking Origin is not a good sign for all the other people who picked Origin. Because historically, this man is predicted on like the team that is absolutely going to lose in any given series. So
But,
I feel much better about my prediction.
No, but the key takeaway is I don't want viewers at home to be like, Origin, heavy favorites in this series. They're lying to you. They are not heavy favorites in this series. G2 are heavy favorites in this series.
And we'll talk more about that in a second. And also, let's take a look at who's the front runner for winning the whole thing. It's StatsBot. StatsBot is still #1. And they have predicted OG, though. Taunts us all the time. We never get to see the reface, but... Oh, wait, hang on.
He's trying to make a cameo.
StatsBot's struggling.
No, here's the thing.
Not that good.
All he needs to do is come in a straight line. And while he can't figure out what straight line to find, he's still beating us in
He's
predictions.
actually going exactly in the way of his prediction as well. He got
He's
beef.
going straight for you.
I know, I'm not excited
Can
about
you bow
this.
to our Lord and Savior?
No, I'm not bowing to
StatsBot?
him. We gotta... I hate you, tiny scuttle crab. No! You can't laugh at me! Go away.
Get out of here.
Be free.
Get out. Oh, well, we're stuck with him. I think
I will remove him, Shocks. Don't worry. No, StatsBot, your time is done.
I think
Get him out of here,
we're
right?
fake friends.
I don't want to hear about it.
All right, StatsBot.
We can be friends when he's in second place, Shocks.
Also, they have a different. So if actually it is 3-2 for Origin, that means Twitter would then gain ground on StatsBot. So a lot to be decided here.
So what
We'll
you're
see.
saying is it's either like anime eggs or the Roomba. That's who's leading right now.
No actual analyst.
I say, if we get beaten by a Naruto avatar, I'm going to be so sad.
Honestly,
Believe it.
like it's enough. Let's move on.
Can
We don't have control of the sound
I
effects.
can mute people on Twitter, but I can't mute the Twitter. I can't mute the StatsBot.
Anyway, playoffs, they're on their way. Predictions, they're on their way. But I do also want to take a little bit of time and calm down to highlight some of the standout performances from the regular season. Of course, the awards are being dealt out. We had the All-Pro teams just last week. This week, we also found out who is the rookie of the split, and it is SK Gaming's jungler, Selfmade. Even with that little hiccup, I think, last week in the last game, you cannot deny this guy's influence on SK this split.
An Infinity Edge build on Rek'Sai is not going to erase the other 9 weeks of like superstar performance that this guy's put out. I don't know what is in the water in Poland because the amount of crazy Polish junglers between Jankos, Kikos, and Selfmade is just crazy.
It is absolutely insane. And you're right that so many of these performances were just incredible mechanically. The way that he moved across the map for a rookie jungler to have so much impact on this team is incredible. And Infinity Edge Rek'Sai, you can joke about it, it's a regular season award. And the reality is, without this man, SK would not have gotten to playoffs or even contested Splyce.
I agree, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops coming into summer. Now, another award we dealt out, that is the coach of the split, and that is Origen André Guilhoto. This is the second time he actually receives this split. He also brought Schalke all the way to the final in the summer split. It's also the second time that him and Nukeduck are in a tandem and getting to high tiers in Europe.
And it just felt like there was a lot of priority on securing the coaching staff behind Origen. You know, as you come in with Refresh, and they are a very systems-based team, and that it's a lot that's going around behind the scenes as well as on the Rift, that he was kind of the first domino that was set up, and Origen now, you know, collapsing to this crescendo of going to Rotterdam.
Yeah, true. I think it's one of those difficult ones, right? We voted for it as well, and I think you can only kind of judge the end product, and then I think the development of Origen, this split definitely gives validity to this Coach of the Split award.
It absolutely does, and I think that the players continuously praising their coaching staff is also really good support to that award. And the way that you see the team improve week to week, while it might not just be André, the fact that he is setting the team up to have success, to grow like that, is a huge testament to his ability.
Yeah, and time to hear from the man himself, because André Guilhoto is standing by with Laure as we speak.
And thank you very much, Shox, and thank you, Guilhoto, for joining me. You were elected coach of the split for the second time in a row. What is your secret? What makes you so good?
It's usually a teamwork. This award is never for the coach itself, because it's incredibly hard to evaluate the work that a coach does. So obviously this just comes by the amazing infrastructure that we have at Origen and Refresh, and obviously the help of Fabian and all the players. So it's not really a award for me, but more award for the work that we did together as a group.
Got it, for the team as a whole. But still, you led Schalke to the finals last year, and Origen is looking to have an amazing year as well. How is it important to you to have such an important role in all of this success?
I mean, I obviously think that my role ended up being important for both success of the team, but my role alone would not be able to achieve anything. So that's why, once again, it's all about what we do as a team and how we manage to behave with each other and align our goals and the strategy that we want to go, not only for each game, but also for the split itself.
Before we head into today's matchup, tell me a bit more about this year's lineup, Origen, about the guys. How do you like coaching them?
It's absolutely amazing. I think all of them are incredibly smart about the game, which makes reviews and development incredibly easier. And they are also a lot really open-minded. So every discussion that we end up having is all about improving and all about getting better and not repeating the same mistakes. And everyone has that mindset, and everyone comes from a situation where they want to prove something. In the case of cases that are really obvious is obviously Alfonso from the period of TSM, or Jonas from his last year in the OL. And it's just amazing to have a group of guys that are humble, open-minded, and really smart about the game.
And all of this led you today to play against G2. You guys are one step away from the finals. We didn't see G2 play for a long time now, so what can we expect from them?
I mean, we also didn't see us play for a long time now.
That is also true.
I don't know. Miki is playing the first game, so I'm expecting them to be a bit more cohesive. I think that the rest, that not only these 3 weeks, but the rest that they took also in the last 2 weeks of LEC did them well and make them improve on a lot of flaws that they had. But we are also ready for everything that they have to throw at us. Especially G2 is a team that likes to throw a lot of curveballs and make a lot of out of the box plays and out of the box picks, but I think we are ready for it, and that's what we expect for them, to not play standard, not play like any other team, and we'll just have to be good at adapt in the game and in the series.
All right, well, thank you for your insights, and good luck, obviously, for today. And back to you, Shox.
Thank you very much. He's ready. That's good to hear. And I hope this guy's ready as well. All eyes on Caps in the mid lane. Very first best of 5 he will play with this G2 lineup. The same for Origen. Very first best of 5. They're going to play as a team. And to introduce this match, I'd also like to welcome Vitality's coach, Jacob Yamato Kenan Mebdi, to the desk. Hello, sir. I know it's probably bittersweet since you're not playing anymore in the playoffs yourself, but do you also feel the same hype as we do for this matchup?
Yeah, for sure. I think from a production standpoint, it's the 3 best teams to send to a final. So I think, of course, as a viewer, from the viewer perspective, it's amazing.
It's a lot of fun indeed. We're gearing up for that big showdown, G2 versus Origen, the 2 best teams from the regular season. Now, of course, as said many times, we haven't seen them in so long, Frosk. 3 weeks. So how hard is it for us to say how this match will play out?
I mean, we can only kind of take... So there's kind of 2 routes here. You go the recency bias, which is why I think you see an abundance of people who are starting to back Origen. Origen looked best as we were ramping up. And yeah, you have seen some teams start to stagnate a little bit. You know, Vitality pretty much carried the same form where they were struggling at the end of split into playoffs. Fnatic were continuing to ramp up. But then you do have a team like Splyce, which did have a lot of evolution there. So it's kind of, where is G2? We know that they're starting their main roster. We know that they struggled but didn't really mean anything. But you still have this terrifying potential that everyone has seen. And I think we have to expect that both teams should be in top-tier form with how long they've had to prepare here.
You agree with that, Yamato?
I agree. I think G2 got the wake-up call that they needed. I think they were playing quite recklessly throughout the split. They were getting away with a lot of wins that they shouldn't have. And I think they got quite the punch in the face. And I think the 3 weeks of preparation is going to do good for them.
I do agree. The winner, of course, goes directly to the spring final in Rotterdam next Sunday. And the loser, yes, they get another chance, but then they go up against Fnatic. So I think if you're OG or G2, that is a risk you would rather not take.
Yeah, for sure. I think Fnatic has showed a lot of great things, a lot of improvement. But I'm if I'm going to make a prediction for those matchups, I think OG and G2 are the stronger teams.
The stronger teams, and those are the ones we'll see today. And you mentioned on it already, it is two very storied teams facing off. Of course, Origen downfall in 2016 overlapped with G2's rise to the top for scoring, even some players going from one team to the other.
I mean, there's just like some crazy grudge matches that you don't even have to be like an EU super fan to be aware of. The fact that Mithy is returning to this matchup again, that he's now played for both sides of this organization, that there should actually be like some blood rivalry between these orgs is pretty crazy, on top of the fact that hopefully we see both of them in top form.
Yeah, definitely so. When we talk about top form for G2, we definitely think about the beginning of the split. They came in, of course, famously took caps from Fnatic, put him in the mid lane, Perkz went to the bottom lane, and G2 did phenomenally. In the first weeks, it actually looked like nobody was going to stop them, but it didn't keep going. In the middle of the split, they kind of lost some steam, and funnily enough, it was with a loss to OG that everything started to kind of hobble on.
And before we break into that loss against Origen, I do want to remind everyone that the first time that they beat Origen, that was the Seek and Destroy composition. That was the Zoe, the Karthus, and a Jace, I believe, and it was just disgusting. But for the first 15 minutes, Origen were actually winning the game. They got solo kills in the lane phase. They punished specifically Mickey and Perkz down there. Now, it was one of their first games as a bot lane duo on a main stage, but it wasn't like Origen have just been blown out of the water and then just got like a random lucky win. They were competitive in game number 1, and then they finished that in game number 2 with the Zed.
Yeah, Yamato, how close actually do you think these teams are if you think about that week 5 game, which was very convincing for OG, but only one game after all?
I think individually they're on a similar level. I will give the edge a bit to G2, but I think what OG does so well is preparation. We see on our screens right now the Zed into the Casio. This is something that G2 wasn't ready for, and they got away with a free victory because of such a great matchup and such a good preparation. So I think preparation is going to be a big thing, and I think if I want to give the coaches split some props, it's right there.
It's also very different looks. I agree with you, turning into best of 5, preparation is key, but we've also been saying that this should actually favor Origen. Not necessarily over G2, but specifically Origen themselves should be stronger in best of 5 than they are in best of 1 because of the depth of their champion pools and because of the versatility of the playstyles that they've shown throughout the regular split.
I have to agree, but of course G2 Esports also throws out all of these flex picks all the time. They always come with new ideas to a best of 5, but we'll see what they bring out versus OG. The man here on screen is playing. If I have to assume, like, I have no background information, I just think that they are as good as they were in the first couple of weeks with Mickey X, as you said, because they had a couple of weeks to practice with him.
Then you just need to ask yourself and answer one question. Is G2 in their best form better than Origen in their best form?
We'll see it today, and maybe we'll even see it twice, because when we look at Origen and we talk about their best form, their second half of the split, the only team that was better than them was Fnatic, and they started off badly, quite badly, but I think they never worried because they knew that this was a project that was going to take time. They improved week per week, and they also looked quite scary by the end of the split, Yamato.
Yeah, for sure. I think OG, everyone knew the potential there. They had the players to support it, and the games that they lost just looked so depressing.
Yeah.
It was Mithy getting caught somewhere, and then they just kept dying, and then the game was kind of over. And everyone was just waiting for that time. When will the real OG show up? And they did after that G2 game.
There's also creative drafts that come between these teams. You already mentioned the flex picks for G2. Something that I do want to draw viewers' attention to is the possibility of Kalista. Origen were one of the few teams that would pull out the Kalista in the bottom. I believe the other big team was Misfits. And most teams in the LEC wouldn't touch it. So I'm actually really curious. When you look at a team like Splyce versus Fnatic, there were a lot of overlapping champions in the pools, things like the Karthus. Origen and G2, I don't think have as many shared champion pools. And this game could come down to just who executes better on their composition and not X team won in draft, B team lost in draft.
Well, when you say champion diversity to me, I think of Nukeduck in the mid lane. That guy plays absolutely everything, which could be very good for Origen in a best of 5 situation. And also, Caps versus Nukeduck is one of our prime matchups we're looking at. When I talked to the Fisho a couple of weeks ago, he said, the one thing we have over other teams when we play G2 is the fact that Nukeduck can stand up to Caps. Do you agree with that, Yamato? And how much of an influence do you think it'll have?
For sure. I think Nukeduck is a fantastic player. He has shown his depth in terms of champion pool. I think what will make a big deal here is the side selection. I think red side, when Nukeduck is allowed to counterpick, is going to make a huge difference for him and Origen.
Well, I do agree that, and especially in the victory that Origen had over G2, Nukeduck can go toe-to-toe with Caps, use that counterpick, use that champion pool. That said, Origen's key to victories aren't putting Nukeduck on those style of champions. You know, he is a much more flexible in how they use him as responsibility to the team. He can sit back and be kind of that control mage, that zoning presence for team fights. I think that's what might throw viewers for a loop. If they're expecting that this matchup should just be, okay, kill caps repeatedly, I don't think Origen have to do that. They can, and that's what makes them so impressive in this matchup. Or they can say, instead, we're going to carry through Alphari. Let's try to carry through Patrick.
Yeah, definitely so. Another matchup you had, Orion, was in the jungle. We're not talking about it too much, but you're really hyped about Cold versus Jankos.
I think, like, I've worked with both junglers, and I know their differences. I feel like what Trashy does well is that he takes the bad jungle matchups and he does so well in them. I think Jankos is the complete opposite. He takes the good jungle matchups and just takes away the game. When he plays as Elise, he plays as Lee Sin, he just takes over everything. So I'm looking forward to see how they both impact the jungle. I think if Jankos gets ahead early game, I think he can take over everything and play through the solo lanes.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Cold's responsibility heading into this match, probably going to prioritize the Rek'Sai that he likes to play, and it's literally just to track Jankos and just make sure that Jankos doesn't get to be that gank machine. I think if Cold can just neutralize Jankos' presence, say, you're not going to get off any ganks, like, that's just a straight win for Origen.
Yeah, I think I agree. Also, by the way, you guys at home, you can vote for who you want to see on the POV stream over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. For game one, it's the mid laners. You can spam or caps or Nukeduck to see. Hopefully, if you choose one or the other, you'll see action either way. So as we start to count down towards this first game, let me hear your predictions and your motivations as to why they will win. I know they're different. I know you have G2, 3-2, and you have OG, so go ahead, Yamato.
I think G2 will win it 3-2. I think when it comes to their individual skill, I think they are slightly better. But I think the main difference that will come across here is how Mickey X and Jankos will impact the map. I think if Caps ends up ahead, Wonder ends up ahead, I think they can take away the game. OG on the other hand, I think they can make drafts that make more sense. And if they go into mid-game more even, they can take away some wins. And I think it comes down to side selection, and G2 get to choose first. And hopefully they take red and get the counter picks.
It doesn't seem like it's like a clear, because a 3-2 to start with is not clear. Is it 50-50 for you? Is it 60-40?
I think 60-40 G2, yeah.
Wow. Frost?
I did predict Origen. I want to make it very clear. I'm trying to predict an upset. I do think that G2 are still the favorites here. And I think it's just because pound for pound talent in pretty much every single matchup, G2 are stronger. But that said, I believe that Origen would do well because it is a best of 5. I think the preparation will be there, and I wasn't impressed with G2's drafts. Like, you can say that, you know, G2 didn't want to show anything, that they were maybe taking it easy. None of those games mattered, but I wasn't really impressed with their read on the meta. I felt like it really hurt them when we shifted more towards 5v5, crit ADCs, and suddenly you had teams like Splyce, Fnatic, Origen, all these teams that were better at 5v5ing or more willing to do it, rising up, while teams like Schalke, Vitality, and G2, who were more about playing those side lanes, more of the skirmish, more of the assassins, started to fall down. So I feel like the meta favors Origen right now.
Oh, it's so interesting because there are so many question marks, but it's so incredibly important for so many of these individual players, as well as these storied organizations going into this round 2 matchup with a spot in the final on the line. The wait is finally over, and it is time for G2 versus Origen.
The only time I wasn't #1 in the regular season was the first split I played.
Gets the stun, Caps flashes forward, turns it onto Perks, first blood!
After 2016 Splyce, I decided to take a 1-month break from everything.
She's already killed, one against Cocoon, they're impossible by some time, but simply not enough.
My dream was to be remembered as the best Western player.
Not just to find out, Perks blows up RNG! D just blows up MLXG! The Ignite is ticking, that is not it! Perks is godlike!
The reason for me to join TSM was the be the best mindset. TSM was like the team that had it in NA for me.
I was not really feeling very well, unsure whether or not what I was doing in life was right for me.
It was a rough year, and also the pressure, you know, when you lose, it was just so mentally straining.
I want to actually show that I'm dominant on 2 roles. That would kind of cement me as the best player.
Went to the offseason, I was not really sure what I was looking for. Once I heard about the G2 lineup, I was very fascinated. What we have with G2 is very different from what we have with Fnatic.
Instant claim from Cap, Paddle Star onto Nemesis!
I was just really grateful that the OG guys told me how much they trusted in me, and they just gave me like that push of confidence. that I was really lacking in TSM.
Let's run it in. Now he does go down. There's the ulti coming out. First blood does go over to 50, but now Patrick wants
I think I
to
learned
follow.
more about myself in that 1 month away from everything than maybe the past 1 year. It made me realize why I'm doing what I'm doing.
This was the best roster change that was possible in the offseason. This team has the potential to be the new dynasty.
Not enough at the end of the day. G2 making it look so easy as they tear their way to the Origen lineup.
When I arrived home, I sat down, I wrote some notes on my phone. One of the notes I had was that I want to be able to have the feeling of lifting a trophy.
For me, it's like a really huge redemption story. I'm ready for whatever comes next.
Origen on the cusp of history as they take down the undefeated G2.
Every game is made of small crunch time moments, and either you have the nature of thriving in crash time moments or you don't.
They're just going onto the back, they're looking to play, they get reckless, they catch him out with the cataclysm, a great flank, G2, the perfect team fight!
I just want to beat Mitty. He once told me that either I stay on G2 and we keep winning splits, but then you're
Always had one more title over me. If I keep being with him in the team, he's always gonna have one more than me.
or I go to NA and I be the first player to win both EU and NA.
If we end up winning it, we were meant for the final, and we went straight there after winning our best of 5.
Walking that path towards the stage, that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Being in Rotterdam, it is the pinnacle of what you want to be as a pro player.
As arrogant it may sound, I will lift the trophy.
Yo, Devil for Caster Lounge. Guys, where are you? Betting? Betting it?
Betty!
Here.
Betty!
I need you,
Betty, 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 Betty! 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 Betty!
Betty, come on, you're late.
Betty, we're late, Betty, 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 let's go!
Where are these guys? We're supposed to like start a few minutes ago.
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello.
I'm Medic Chamberlain, joined by Andrew Guilhoto.
Yes, it is. Let's go.
Oh, Ender's
Ender's here as well. Woohoo! Origin versus G2. It's great to have you here, buddy. It's great to have you.
Thanks. I feel very included right now and ready to cast this series.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a great one. Winner goes to the finals in Rotterdam. The loser, of course, plays up against Fnatic in our semi-final match on the Saturday. It's going to be a great series. A lot of people predicting it's going to go all the way.
I certainly